Well, what we're just talking about is all the different types of things that we can recycle. So what I'm going to do is just kind of run through. I'm Tracy Horst. I'm with the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. We have a recycling program that's about 12 years old. We do some daily recycling items, and then we do some special event recycling items. So I see one of the gentlemen that I'm familiar with from our facility, so I won't tell you everything that we recycle in our facility, but I'll talk about some of the event stuff that we do. And I'll let him cover some of the others. But I would love to, I always learn from you guys about what we can recycle, where and how. So like the video that Michael did yesterday, and then a lot of the discussion we had last night online, it was some great information to help me get ideas on what I can do. I loved Kara helping out with the car seat idea yesterday in Height Plastics. So I am looking forward to reaching out to Height Plastics and seeing if we can get car seats added to some of our events. But on our event side though, usually we just do electronics. We don't do electronics on a full-time permanent basis. So we'll do electronics. We'll do paper shredding sometimes. We do, we work with our tribal police officers, and we do drugs and ammunition. We're in southeastern Oklahoma, so we almost never get a single bullet, but we do want the option there for those who want it in case they need it. We're getting ready to do some household hazardous waste events, and so that'll tie in with that. If you were on yesterday, you probably heard that we do, for the animal shelters, they always wash the animals when they come in. So we do old towels, old blankets, and old rug collection for the animal shelters. And in the winter, when it gets cold and those concrete floors, all those animals are sleeping on concrete.
As organics or as trash. It has greenhouse gas benefits, and kind of if you've already hit the residential sector, it's kind of the next step, and you're going to stagnate if you don't do something. Why not do it? Well, because you're concerned that there's heterogeneity. It's a very confusing sector, and there's big ones and small ones, and this business and that business. You may have realistically very limited authorities, and that's certainly an issue as well. You
clean. But we will give those away. I think we helped about 400 kids last year through that program. So it's a great way to be able to avoid things going in the landfill. Just because one child doesn't love it as much as it used to, the next child may love it just as much, if not more. So, and then tires, we do a lot of tire events. And DEQ, we have the S number permit through DEQ, and so we work through that, and that's a great asset to be able to do something like that. Cleans up the environment, helps with the recycling aspect, and then gets rid of those nasty little mosquitoes that none of us like. So that's a little bit about me and what we do from an event perspective. So I'm not afraid to, if somebody doesn't want to put up their hand or talk, I'm not afraid to call somebody out. So don't make me call you out. Let's just talk about what you all do, and help me with ideas about what I can do better. Anybody want to go first? All right. How about Miss Kathy?
Morning.
Good morning.
I don't know that I have any ideas. I'm very interested in what you're talking about because I'm down in your area. I'm there in Stratford. So, very familiar with the Chickasaw Nation and all the great things that you all are doing, and DEQ, Green Schools, OKRA, et cetera. I'm still new to this environment, but my goal with this is to learn about what is available so that I can share it within my community, within the schools that I go to for various engagements. And then it's very relevant to what we do from a industry standpoint, or my association with the industry partners, which is in wind and solar. And so, how can we, because that's the recycling of the materials that are used, trying to minimize the footprint overall across the nation, is a key conversation that's occurring. And so, bringing it back down to that community side, it's how do we do this in partnership across the board, here locally as well as nationally, and then how can I share that in the communities that I go to. So I'm just here to learn more. So thank you.
Well, awesome. We're glad. I'm telling you, one day my dream has been for about 10 years to have somebody to be able to help do outreach and go talk to the schools and that kind of thing on a full-time basis. So kudos to you for getting that started and continuing that. So
I have a question. It's Cheryl. I work for DEQ, and I have always, like, I take my recyclables to Norman. I do live in Noble, which is just south of Norman. But we do have a recycling bin, but I swear it's like it fills up within 2 days after they empty it. And it's pretty bad because it's a rural area and people put a lot more than they're supposed to in that area. So I just take mine to Norman. Well, and I know the contamination of the plastic bags is a big deal. And I've never really talked to anybody. Like, I understand why they couldn't just put something for plastic bags, but I don't know if the ones who pick it up, if they have a problem with contamination of just that, if they left something there to put the plastic bags or even a trash bin. I don't know how. I mean, maybe they think that they would encourage people to throw trash there, but I don't know what is the problem, the pros and cons of not putting an extra bin for something other than what the recyclables are. I don't know the experience of companies that do that.
I don't know of any companies. We were talking about plastic bags in the last session, and one of the things that we were talking about that people weren't aware of is you can also take them back to Target, and Target also does glass and that kind of thing. So that's really the ideal. The trucks, they don't like them in like Republican Waste Management. If they put them in the trucks when they get picked up, there's enough mechanics inside those trucks from the wheels from on the inside or gears. And those bags have a tendency to get wrapped around those gears, and then the gears get clogged up and somebody has to go in and physically cut them all out. So if you think about it, like you've got a string of spaghetti and a fork, and you take that spaghetti and you wrap it around your fork. And unfortunately, the spaghetti is very slick, so it doesn't always stick to the fork. The plastic bag isn't quite that way, but it's that whole option of you're basically taking that plastic bag inside of a truck, or if you're in a MRF and you've got belts and lines and conveyor systems, those bags get twisted up in there. So that would be the only reason I could think that it might be a challenge to have drop-off locations just for those. And being able to get them picked up from the different locations in a truck.
Right. And I was just, like I said, though, if they just had a separate one for it, like do they have that much contamination in a separate bin for trash and bags that they couldn't do it? I guess I'm trying to weigh the option of, since the contamination of the bags within the recycled plastic bin, why they couldn't put a separate one there. I mean, would they see a increase? I mean, if they really have that big of a problem, that's why I guess I've never understood that.
Gotcha. Well, I think the challenge just goes back to them being able to collect it and the damage that plastic bags cover. So I think if they put out those, whether it's a 20-yard or a 10-yard or something like that container, it would still be able to figure out a way to be able to get that emptied, aside from the contamination, because of the damage it does to equipment. I don't know if that's making sense or if it's not.
It does. And of course, everybody loves your quote that you said yesterday, educate, educate, educate. So, I mean, maybe we need to do that a lot more. And of course, with the tags, that was a neat thing. I like the tagging. Maybe we can implement that more. I don't know. So
I would definitely say it's something to reach out to your local area, wherever you're dropping things off, and work with them. You're probably not too far from Paul's Valley, and I think Paul's Valley has a pretty good recycling program too. So I don't know if they take plastic bags or anything. I think theirs is mostly drop off.
Well, right now, the only place that I know is Walmart in Norman that will take the plastic bags. And I'm just trying to think of the community in general. I mean, I try to take it separately, but and then of course you get those bags that are all nasty and gross, and you're like, I really don't want to put these back in my car. What do I do with them? And it's like, I kind of wish I had a place to just throw them away or something if I couldn't or whatever. But I try to do like boxes or paper bags for my recycle bins rather than plastic bags, just because you can recycle all of that. Then you don't have to bring anything back. So yeah, I mean, not for me in general. I'm just talking about like the whole community. If we could just figure out a way to, I hate seeing the plastic bags in there. I do. I hate it, but what do you do?
Yeah,
So.
I see what you're talking about, because you're talking about you guys in Norman up there, they have to empty the plastic bags, all the stuff out of the plastic bags. So then you've got the plastic bags. I'm tracking a little bit better with you. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. Everybody brings their containers in a plastic bag and they just throw it in there and just leave it. And there's so many plastic bags in our plastic container receptacle. So that's why I said, I was like, if there's not a way to keep people from doing it or put a separate bin there. And I guess I haven't had the chance to really talk to somebody with the Norman community on how to do that.
Brett's really good, and Brett's online. And then we just had Michelle in our last session too, and she's just started working with Brett, and she's working on how to reduce the contamination. So in that case, if it's a drop-off spot like that, it might be easy enough just to put a small trash dumpster there, or a small trash can beside each one of them or something, and maybe they can work out that process that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I definitely say reach out to Michelle and Brett and see if they can help you work through that one.
Okay.
Jay Thomas, see your hand was raised. Oh, now you're telling me in the chat, no idea. Okay, you're still welcome to chat if you want to. Anybody else have questions or want to talk about their recycling or what they hope to recycle at some point? All right, Kaylee, how about you? How about tell us where you're from and what you recycle?
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I live in Oklahoma City. I'm from Edmond, and I recycle a lot of glass or aluminum cans.
All right, Amanda. I know your volume works. I heard you talking. Can you tell us about your program or?
Well, I can't really say much about the program. I work with Cox, and for the last year and a half, we've been working from home. We did have a good program while we were in the office, where we had a lot of signage up telling us, encouraging recycling, encouraging reducing our footprint, no paper plates, or reducing the amount of paper plates, paper cups, everything within the office. And it was good that they had a lot of signage that told us what could go in the recycle bin and what couldn't. Those are always very helpful. I wish that we had more of that just, in our own neighborhoods now that we're more work from home.
I think that's one of the things that I've got to work on getting better, because we do a really good job of telling people what we can recycle, but we don't do a good job of telling them what we can't. So yes, we'd love to have your styrofoam cup, but we fail to tell them we don't want the lid and the straw that goes along with it. So we need to do better at that. So
yeah, I've been trying to be better about that myself. One thing that it was good to know yesterday is that we can keep the cap on the plastic bottles. That was a big deal because I just keep putting it in. But trying to be conscientious of trying to take that plastic wrapper off is one thing I need to work on.
I can remember back when we started about 12 years ago, yes, all of the papers had to come off the plastic bottles, the lids had to come off the top, and then the paper had to come off like the tin can. And I was so glad when we got past the point of being able to do that, because a lot of people didn't want to recycle because it was extra work. So I'm worried that we're going back to where we were before, but
that's not too hard though.
Yeah, true. So you guys, not only from a recycling perspective, you encourage like the non-use, did I catch that? The non-use of single-use like plastics, plasticware and paper plates and that kind of thing?
Yeah, they didn't do a particularly great job of stocking our kitchen that way, but they definitely would not bring in plastic or paper cups. You were just encouraged to have your own at your desk and reuse with it. They did give us some recycled mugs or tumblers, so that was good.
Awesome.
That's all I have.
Thank you for that.
Hey, it's Eric. I work for the Council of Governments here in Central Oklahoma, and my Recycling 101 experience recently has been, I just moved, and I've moved this same bucket of like old cables and electronic stuff for like 3 moves now, and I'm like, I finally got to take this somewhere and get rid of it because it just hangs out in my garage. But so anyway, I think Best Buy takes some of that stuff, and so I'm gonna go to their website and see what I can actually take in, because I don't want to put it in the landfill.
Actually, we were looking in our last session, Jeanette Ant's pulled up about Target, and they actually take small electronic devices, which I wasn't aware of. So that may be an option for you too.
Well,
They take glass, and I would say go to their website if you're curious, because they do plastic bags, which is what we were talking about initially, was the plastic bags and the glass. But then they had small electronic devices and batteries, all kinds of things. They'll take the plastics. But yes, I forgot about Best Buy. That's a great idea too. Thank you. for
yeah, I
that.
mean, I know, one of the things we're dealing with, I think, with OKRA is, and what they saw in Tulsa with, the lithium ion batteries. I mean, there's just going to be a lot more of those with, these battery powered, weed eaters and stuff like that. So it's going to be a bigger and bigger issue. So
I definitely think you're right. All right, we got Eric Pollard. How about Eric Pickman?
I'm with GRDA here in Shoto, and I'm still new to the agency, but I do know that we have a pretty extensive recycle program. We break down our papers and our plastics, and we also recycle our waste metal and stuff like that. Other than that, I'm still new, and I'm not really familiar and up to date with what and how we recycle.
Well, Eric, for everybody who's not familiar with GRDA, let them know, what does GRDA mean?
GRDA is Grand River Dam Authority. We're a power company in the state of Oklahoma, and we also, which reversed from the Grand River. We also are good stewardship with the land management, and we take care of the waterways with what we control. Well,
welcome. We're glad to have you. We're glad to hear that you're interested in recycling, and we're thankful for what you do for keeping the waterways clean for us.
Thank you.
All right, there's a few others. I'll let him. Oh, Kaylee, were you trying to talk again?
I work at DEQ, and we recycle fishing line and eyeglasses.
I do see where Kevin has posted in the comments, and it says, I haven't heard any pushback from Murphs about a lot of these local breweries using wraps on their cans rather than printing on the can. Have you heard any complaints? I have not heard of any complaints, Kevin, but I'm waiting for that too, because I've seen those in a couple of instances. We had a local brewery actually when we had the ice storm and they were great to create canned water for everybody during the ice storm. But all their cans have a label on it, and I don't think that's a great option at all for the aluminum industry, and I'm waiting for some pushback on that one at some point. Maybe there's not enough people that are doing it now compared to the rest of the amount of aluminum that's coming through, but I can't imagine that doesn't cause contamination on their part. Great question. Has anybody else heard anything about those? All right. All right, I'll leave from the Met. You guys have a great program. Tell us about your program.
Yes, so we have 10 recycling depots in Tulsa and surrounding communities. And at those depots, we accept your traditional recycling, such as aluminum and steel cans, paper, cardboard, glass bottles and jars, and plastics 1 and 2. But we also try to accept those non-traditional items that you can't put in curbside, like batteries, e-waste, cooking oil, antifreeze, used motor oil. So we try to get some of those things out of the trash. And then we also work with the surrounding communities to provide vouchers to go to the Tulsa Household Pollutant Collection Facility. So that way, if people have hazardous materials like paint or pool chemicals or lawn chemicals, they can get a voucher and take them to that facility. And then we also have special events several times a year where we take tires, smoke alarms, fire extinguishers. We do paper shredding, ammunition, old medication. So we try to also organize some of those big events to get some of those other, hard to dispose of things out of the waste stream.
I was going to ask Bobby, I was very curious yesterday after he said smoke alarms and fire extinguishers. Who do you guys use for that? What's the best way to be able to get rid of that? I haven't had that success yet, so I'm excited about that one.
That's a good question. I'm our educator, so I do a lot of the education out in the schools and events. I don't always know the backside information, so Bobby would definitely be the one to ask. I don't know who we use. I know that when we do these different events, we use a lot of different organizations, so I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Okay, I will reach out to Bobby. No worries. We're glad to have you here, though, and thank you for being one of those persons who goes out and advocates on our behalf. We love that.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
We are down to about a minute. Miss Rebecca, I think we haven't talked to Mr. Rebecca or Mr. Thomas yet. So, and you are both going to be bashful. Mr. Thomas, I know you haven't been bashful a day in your life. So feel free to chime in about what we recycle. Miss Rebecca, what about you? Oh, your microphone's not working. Okay. Thank you for that. Well, unfortunately, I'm sorry, we're missing you and Kaylee both on your microphones. Well, we're down to, it looks like about 10 seconds before they may boot us back into the other session. But thank you all. I appreciate you both very much. And Kevin, I'm not sure that we got to hear everything on your side either. So actually it says that we've got another minute. So Kevin, if you've got it, have you filled this in? Do I remember that one?
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I work at DEQ. I'm in hazardous waste compliance. At home, though, I'm mentioned as the recycling Nazi. So I do my own cleaning and always take extra bins for vacations and stuff like that. And I've actually stayed in Bixby where we took about 4 or 5 of the 50 gallon trash bags to the Met and sorted them there. So scrap metal, I'll take anything and everything.